Good morning and welcome to our class today. First, we apologize for starting our class a bit late, but we shall proceed. And first, I hope you have your computer with you, because what you need in this program, you need to have a computer with Excel. You need to have a computer installed with Excel. And first, before we even go to that much, we need to explain and to give clarification why we are doing advanced Excel in this course. So CPA or KCE has a course called Diploma in Data Analytics. And in that diploma, data analytics is done using Python programming and R programming. But in this CPA, KCE has recommended, or they have given a guideline that students should do data analysis with Excel. And this is the program that we are going to use for now. So I know most of you maybe they have basics of Excel, and I believe there are those that don't have the basics of Excel. So, and since you are online class, we will sometimes not be able to know your proficiency in Excel, because we cannot actually see you use Excel. Although I would prefer that there are several tools that you need to install in your machine. One of the tools that you need to have is a program called AnyDesk. AnyDesk. So AnyDesk you just download from your computer. Is a free source software. So that in case you have a problem in your machine, or you have a problem in tackling a task, then you have to, you can request, you can send a query, and then you assist you in fixing a problem. So the other thing that you need to have is a program called TeamViewer. And this is a program that can allow me to get into your machine and sometimes to assist you in case you have a problem, and we'll be able to help you in case of any problem. So you need those two programs. You need to have AnyDesk. You also need to have TeamViewer. And in case you have a question, you can always raise a question through the chat. I'll see your question, and I will be able to know in which machine that you are connected to. So the other thing that you need to do in your machine, because you want to have an interactive session, so apart from installing those two applications, it is better that you connect Zoom. You connect Zoom. Just a minute. You connect Zoom using your mobile phone. You can connect Zoom using your mobile phone, and you use your computer to follow the procedure. So your phone you'll use your phone to access my big or magic wall here. Then you can use your computer to do the tasks. So the tasks, I'll be sharing them in advance. So in that group, before we start a session, I'll always share the tasks that will be tackling that day, so that you can have them typed in advance. So our work will be just performing the functions, because of time, you cannot enter the data at the same time you perform the functions. So that is another thing that you need to have. And I know we are together. If you have a question so far, you are free to ask any question. as we proceed. So the other thing, we have said that you connect Zoom with your mobile phone. Then you have your computer. You use your computer to enter in the data. So I hope that one is fine. Unless you have a problem, that is the time you raise your question. And in that program of towards AnyDesk, I want to show you that application here. The application has a specific number, and this address number, if you want to get assisted, then you will give me your address number, and I will be able to log into your computer. And from there, you'll be able to see the problem that is really disturbing you. So at least make sure you have this application, AnyDesk, so that in case you have an issue, you can always raise the issue to us. So I'll want to take you through this first course outline. And in this course outline, we'll see the scope of our content that you're going to use. Advanced Excel is a program that has been taught ever since. So we have KCE has their own requirements, and we are going to follow the KCE requirements. At the same time, we still use those functions that has been used over time. So Excel is one of the most powerful tools in data analysis. So we have other programs like SPSS, which will be required again to do or to go through even SPSS. That is because we have several tools that in that course content they have given. If you look or take a look on the course content that was given by KCE, you'll find several tools that KCE did prefer. And some of the tools includes this Excel. We have other programs like Power BI and Tableau. These are also programs that are used for data analysis. There are programs that are given open source. You can download them for free and install in your machine too. So some will require some licenses. So there are programs that probably with the time as a directive with KCE, we will see whether we can still cover some of them. So Excel, I had divided this application into 3 modules. And because of this reason, that I believe that there are some people who are not really competent in Excel at all. And we cannot really assume, and we don't take chances, because you cannot go to advanced level if you are not actually good in basic Excel. So the first part is about the module 1, which is introduces students on how to do basic Excel tasks, including entering and editing of the data, modifying the data, using the basic functions, formatting a worksheet, referencing, and printing, sometimes even creating the basic charts. So this will be our lesson today. That is the first part. And we'll do it using a specific piece of data that will be required to type in your machine. And then from there, we'll run several tasks. I'll show you how to run those tasks here. Then you'll do them again in your machine. So the other part is the module 2, which is intermediate level. This is now designed for a person who have used Excel for a time. And it involves working with large worksheets. That is, when you are given a very large worksheet that you're supposed to analyze and give simple reports, then this will help you to understand how to do that. That is using multiple worksheets, customizing the worksheet, advanced formatting. We have so many advanced formatting in Excel, which include conditional formatting, and the normal formatting of cells. We have the list management that sometimes you'll be required to work with the list, working with the dates, advanced charting, and data validation, error handling, and using templates. So these, that is, we normally classify them under this intermediate level. Then after this, you have another module, that is module 3. Now, this is a bit detailed because it normally works, or it involves now using of those advanced formulas and functions, using of pivot tables and pivot charts, and use of analysis toolpack, which will help you to get the solvers and other data analysis tools that you did learn in qualitative analysis, like regression, correlation, and such. So which will help you to achieve the finest data analysis that you can use even in big companies to do your work. So we usually have another module, module 4. So this one is, we'll just pick some things there because it's normally meant for those people who are taking IT. And that is because it involves a bit of coding using the Visual Basic Programming Language, which sometimes is better to, we can take a few, not all of them. We can take like macros, exporting and importing data, because that is actually can apply in your case. So that is in module 4, we will not do the entire thing because some of these things are meant for those people who are doing the IT. So that is the course content, and I think I shared this, I'm going to share it again. That is the thing that you're supposed to cover in this course. So that withstanding, we can proceed. So I hope you have your program already running, and I have my program running here. And we started by saying that Excel is a very powerful tool that is used in data analysis. And apart from the normal tools, or apart from the normal tools you have been using in Excel, we are going to add more tools right now that these tools will help you to do further analysis. So I'm using Excel 2010 because this is the minimum requirement that KCE-Mumlock gave. And the reason why I'm using this is because I believe there's maybe a person using this and a higher version. But a higher version is always better because it will have more functions. As you are going to see, I have both of them here, but I'm using this for the sake of a person who will have a lower version, so that, but in case in the future, you require to upgrade your version to 2016 and 2019, because as we proceed here, you'll find those differences between the two. So one of the things that you're supposed to do in Excel, first, you click on File. Then in the File menu, you select Options. And in that option window, that is one of the windows where you can use to customize your program and to add more features and functions in your Excel application. So in this window, that is in this customize window, and I hope your machine is clear or your phone is clear. If it is not very clear, you can also say there so that you can adjust more. So in this application here, we are going to use to select add-ins. Just click add-ins in your machine. And in that add-in, you'll get a number of things that you can add into. So before you even do this, in that window, you'll see that my Excel application is beyond view, the view tab. You see that maybe probably yours has reached the view tab. And in that view tab, we need to have additional tools. So how do you have these additional tools? I have a tool here called developer. That is a tool that is added for helping us run macros, which you will do run this later. So the others depend on the application you have installed. And these applications, if you have installed QuickBooks, if you have installed Sage, then these applications will have their tabs above here. So in case you want to add more or to remove, you have to click on options. And from these options, you get those tools. So under the customize ribbon, you'll find here we have the Nitro, we have the QuickBooks, the Sage, and I want to remove them. Just want to remove those two. I'll remove the background. You just click on that positive. That is, you uncheck mark on those boxes. So I just want to remove all that so that I'll remain with the last command. That is view command. That is view command. Add-ins. Add-ins is also activated. So when I click OK, you'll find my application. The last tab will be view. But for advanced data analysis, we are saying that you need to add those tools. How do you add these tools? Again, say that you click on File, then Options. Then under Options, we have Customize Ribbon. So under this Customize Ribbon, I want us to activate only that tool here, Developer. Just activate Developer tool, then click OK. And you realize that the Developer tab will be added above there. So apart from this Developer tab, what else do you need for analysis? If you check like in this tab, we have the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Page Layout tab. These are used for basic formatting of Excel. We have the Formulas tab, where we have so many formulas in Excel that we are going to check later. Each formula here has a specific function. So we want to add more function. You click again, click on File, Options. And if you are moving fast, you can say there that if you are moving too fast, probably you are moving too slow, but you can say. So you click on add-ins, click add-ins, and here under these add-ins is where you add all the other tools that we use in data analysis. So we'll start by adding something we call Power Pivot. Power Pivot table is one of the most powerful tools that you use. So under the manage down here is a command here, manage. You scroll down here and you select com add-ins. Com add-ins. So I hope you have done that. Coms add-in. Then after coms add-in, let me see, someone is raising the hand. Just a minute, let's see what he's saying. Okay. So under that option, you click go command. Just click go. And once you click go, if you are using a version, you'll find it you have more features. Here, I'm using the lower version. It may not have all those features, but you have to activate, you activate Power Pivot, you get it there. And when you activate Power Pivot, then you click OK, it will be added above there. So then the other thing that you need to activate, click on File, Option. Under Add-ins, you select Analysis Toolpack. Analysis Toolpack. You select Analysis Toolpack. I hope you are there. Under the Analysis Toolpack, we have two of them, Analysis Toolpack, and the other one is Analysis Toolpack VBA. Just choose the first option. And in that first option, then you click down here, go, and you'll find a number of things there. Analysis Toolpack VBA, We have the euro currency and so on. So VAS add-ins, you activate all of them. Then once you activate all this, then you click OK. Click OK. So once you do that, what will happen in your exam? You have added very powerful tools in Excel. Once you click on data, the data tab, you'll find those tools towards the end here. That is analysis and solvers. Analysis and solvers. Click on analysis and you'll find the tools you have just added in your application. That is all those analysis tools that are used in data analysis. You did these ones, some of these ones you did in QA, qualitative analysis, like correlation, regression, ANOVA, descriptive statistics, all these. And remember that you need to have these concepts before we start actually running them off, because me, I'm not a QA teacher, but you have to have this analysis or those concepts in advance before we do any task. So you need all these to run those analysis. So by adding or by doing that, you have customized your application to have those tools. I think up to that level, everyone is the same level. Maybe you are left behind, you can raise your hand or you can raise a comment there, and then you assist you. So, and if everyone is okay, let's proceed to the next level. So for the sake of those beginners and those people who are actually running exam for the first time, I realize that even in the physical class, some students did a lot of work in their companies, but there are some few things that they are really struggling with, especially data entry and basic functions. So Excel is under spreadsheet programs, and spreadsheet are programs that we use to enter in the data and perform calculation on the data. So spreadsheets are divided into 3 components, and these 3 components include the worksheets, database, and graphs. That is, what do you specifically do with Excel? In Excel, what you have you do is first you prepare worksheets. And a worksheet is a page in a workbook. And this worksheet, you have to enter in the data, and using various database management tools that are present in Excel, you perform calculation, you filter the data, you sort the data. Then finally, you have to graph your work. You have to prepare graphs, because data is easy to analyze when it is in form of charts than when it is in form of figures. So those are the 3 components, and that is what you're supposed to run or to do here. So a worksheet, we start with the worksheet. Like in my Excel program, this is my program I've opened with book 1. I have book 1. You can see above there, it is written book 1. That means it is the first workbook. Book 1 means the first workbook. In this book 1, I have 3 worksheets. I have sheet 1 here. I have sheet 2, sheet 3. So this is what we are referring to as a worksheet. A worksheet is a page in a workbook. So probably you know how to rename the worksheets. Let's rename sheet 1. So how do you rename sheet 1? To rename sheet 1, you just need to right-click there and select rename. Then you can type your new name. So let's give this worksheet the name January, for January. Then you can rename sheet 2 as web. So you do the same process, just right-click there, then click rename, call this one web. And the other one is March. So we have 3 worksheets. 3 worksheets. That is the first quarter of the year. And in this worksheet, we want to rename the book name. Instead of calling it book 1, then we give it a specific name. So how do you change the name of the workbook? To change the name of the workbook, you do through saving. You click on File tab, then you click Save As. You select where to save. You can browse if you're using Office 2016. Then where do you save your work? Let's save it somewhere on the desktop. On the desktop, you can make a folder on the desktop. You call it CPA exam, CPA exam, and then you save our workbook there. So you save this workbook as Sales 2022, Sales 2022. So I have a worksheet name called Sales 2022. In this Sales 2022, I have 3 worksheets down here that is showing or representing the first quarter of the year. So that is the workbook, changing the workbook name and changing the worksheet. In case you want to have more worksheets, then the procedure of doing this one, you just click on the icon here to add more worksheets, and you can add as many worksheets as possible. So that is first thing about working with the worksheets, adding, renaming the worksheet name. So the other thing about the worksheet, we say that the worksheet is divided into rows and columns. We have columns running vertically on the page, and rows that runs horizontally on the page. So the columns are labeled using alphabets. As you can see, we have column label A, column label B, and so on. And the rows are labeled using numbers. So you have these numbers. So, and columns and rows, these are the concept of any data analysis program. Not only Excel, all programs that do a data analysis, they follow the same concept of rows and columns. That here, I want to relate this one with another program like this program we call SPSS. And you'll notice that both programs look almost the same. They look more of the same because the concept of rows and columns is what is used in data analysis. That when you are entering data in these applications, you don't type stories, you don't type text, a lot of text, but what you need to do is to enter in figures. So this is another program, a program called SPSS. And you may not even differentiate the two. With Excel, the reason being that they follow the same concepts. They use the rows and column concepts. So that means it is very important. Once you understand the concept of rows and columns here, then you don't have to be trained again in the other program because it uses the same concept. So then, the rows and columns, these rows and columns, they merge to create cells. With that intersection of the column and the row, create a cell. And a cell, that cell, a unit created when the column and the row intersect. Every cell in the worksheet has a name. Every cell. We may have so many cells here, but one thing is that every cell has a unique address. The address of the cell is the name of the cell. And the name of this cell is derived from its position from the worksheet. The position of the cell in the worksheet gives its name. That is, if this is my cell here, it is in column E, row number 8. That means by being on this column E and row number 8, it gives it a name. That is, you call it E8, cell E8. And every cell will have a unique address. Every cell will have a unique address. The address of the selected cell is always displayed above here on the name box on the formula bar. So you'll see somewhere above here where the name of that cell is displayed. And that means if that is the name of the cell above here, then the name of this cell can be changed. We can change the name of that cell. And by changing the name of the cell, it makes even your work easier, especially when you are entering the formulas, which you'll see that one later about the naming of the range of cells. So every cell has a unique address, and in every worksheet we have an active cell. An active cell is the currently selected cell, that is the cell being worked on, and it is the cell where we enter in the data. So when you are entering the data, you enter the data in the active cell. So the other thing that you need to learn is that in Excel, we have 4 types of data that we enter. This data, we have data in form of labels, data in form of values, formulas, and functions. Those are the 4 types of data that we enter in an Excel worksheet. So labels, or label is any data that is entered in Excel, and this data is not used in calculation. You don't use this data in analysis, that is, you don't use this data to perform or to compute data or to compute values. That is what we call label. Label can be in form of alphabets, could be alphabets most of the time. It can also be a combination of alphabets and numbers, or it can be numbers, but these numbers are not used to perform any calculation. So you have to convert these numbers into labels, which you are going to see here, that if you don't do so, then your worksheet will always provide wrong reports. Reports that you cannot automate because you are afraid that the formula may pick a cell that is supposed to be a label. So I want to give an example here. I'm going to work on January, the worksheet January. And this worksheet January, I want to type something like salesperson. So I hope you are doing that. Type there, salesperson. You want to have a simple worksheet that represent the sales of January. So here, salesperson. If you type salesperson, you realize that the word or this word is a bit lengthy, and our column cannot really take the full word. So how do you adjust this? To adjust the column width, we have so many ways of doing it. You can place your mouse pointer between column A and column B, and you place your mouse pointer there, then adjust accordingly by dragging. That is one way of adjusting the column width. Or you can double click. Just double click between column A and B, and it will adjust the column width. That is one way of adjusting the column width. So we have either you drag or you use the best of fit method where you just double click between the column heading. So another way of adjusting the column width is using the format menu. That is, you select the cell. How do you select a column? You click letter, the column letter above here. If you want to select column D, you click on D or E. So once you click on column A, then from the Home tab through the Format command, you will scroll down here and you choose column width. Then from there, you can type the width of the column. Let's type 20. And when you click OK, it will adjust the column width to that width 20. So that is the 3 ways in which you can adjust the column width. But again, to fit this content on the cell, if you don't want to adjust the column width, you can still fit this content by using the command that we call the wrap text. I hope in your system you can see it there, called wrap text command, where when you click, then the content of that cell will fit on the cell without even adjusting the column width. So that is wrap text. Although I would prefer using of wrap text, we do it manually using the keyboard. Why? Because if you select wrap text here, and maybe later you happen to adjust the column width, then the text will just straighten back to normal. But sometimes you want to retain this one for the sake of printing, to retain it in that manner. So when you're typing, that is the time you adjust this. So you type sales. Then before you type the next word, you hold Alt key on the keyboard, and then you press Enter. Alt, then Enter. Then from there, you can type person. So, and by doing that, you have adjusted this. So this one, even later when you drag it, it won't go back to normal. It will not straighten. Sometimes we do this one for the sake of printing because you want everything to fit on a paper. So you have to make sure that the columns have the minimum column width possible. So that is how you adjust the column width. You have seen that. I hope that one is clear and is clear to everyone. So the other thing that you need to do, or you need to run, here you want to type some data, but this data will be in form of text or in form of numbers. So we want to type years. So we start with the 2011. And you want to proceed with those years across the screen. So there is something we call autofilling. Autofill normally happens to labels, data in form of text. That is, if I want to autofill, for example, I want to add another column before this. So to add a column before this, how do you do that? You just click on the column, select the column here. You click on the column, then you can right click there, then select insert. It will insert a column to the right, or to the left, sorry. A column is always inserted to the left of the selected column. So on this, I'll type here employee number. Employee number. Every employee will be given a number. So you just type in short form, employee number. So that is, I want to have several employee numbers here. Employee number. And these numbers will have a specific way of entering the numbers. So every employee will be given an index, for example, E0001. E0001. That is the index for the first employee. So if you are to generate these numbers to the entire worksheet, maybe you have 1,000 employees, you don't have to go typing these indexes. So what you need to do is to drag from the corner of the cell, that is, let's zoom a bit. This is our cell here. Then at the corner of that cell, you click on the cell first. At this corner, you drag down. And by dragging down, you will generate the other numbers. That is autofilling. Autofilling is very possible in data that is in form of labels. So because you don't have to struggle, data in form of labels to autofill, you just need to drag and it will generate all the other numbers down the screen. You can reach up to 6. So, but for numbers, you cannot autofill that. Because if you drag, it will repeat the same number throughout. Whether you are dragging down or you are dragging across, it will repeat the same number. So how do you achieve this then for numbers? For numbers, you can achieve it in so many ways. The first method is that using the same procedure as for the text, but you hold the control key on the keyboard. If you put a +2+ sign there, then you drag across and it will generate those numbers. See now, if you add those, it will keep on incrementing those numbers by 1 by 1 by 1. So remember that easy way of entering data always help you much, because you don't have to keep on repeating. Typing these numbers just generate them automatically. So here you're supposed to type salespeople. You're supposed to get a few names. You can type names at random. And I want us to type numbers, but these numbers, you can use the one I will type here. So these are sales for people within this, the first, that is the first year, that is 2011. And this is what they sold in that 2011. So that is our data for 2011. So you can have those numbers. And when you type these numbers, hope you can see them properly. Maybe you can zoom a bit. And you'll notice that the numbers you have typed, all of them are numbers, including the first number here. Excel will see that one as a number. It will not recognize that this was meant to be a label. So meaning that if you are using autofill functions, which is one of the things that you do in Excel to do your work very fast, you don't have to go typing formulas every now and then, but you can autofill the formulas. If you are to get total down here, that is, you get the total down here, you're supposed to get the total here, and you're going to use the autofill function. Why is autofill function? Here, home tab, you'll get autofill summation, then you click the sum. And you'll notice something funny, that Excel will add everything, including data that was meant to be a label. So sometimes you get very strange figures, and you are really scared where these figures are coming from. Why? Because we are working with a simple worksheet. But in the real sense, you'll find a worksheet that has a lot of data. And this worksheet will have years embedded inside there. And by autofilling and using some of the function you'll come to see later under the data menu, like the subtotals, that you automatically get the total. Then it will always include those cells in your calculation, which will give you a very wrong answer. So to do this, then you have to convert these numbers into labels. And how do you do this? It's very simple. So first, you remove this answer. Before you type a number, or before you type these numbers that are meant to be labels, you start with an apostrophe sign. That is, you start with apostrophe. I don't know whether you see your apostrophe in your keyboard. Apostrophe, the key that you used to type the speech marks, but now you press it without shifting. That key is the apostrophe. So you press the apostrophe, then you type your data. So once you press enter, the apostrophe sign disappears, and the number is left with a specific green line. When you see this green something in Excel, always it indicates that this data that is in this cell is in form of a label. It's in form of a label, but it is in number form, but it is meant to be a label. You know, labels, without even holding the control key, you can now adjust or get the other answer or the other numbers without even holding the control, because the labels you always increment or will always autofill without holding the control key. Now, labels are always aligned by default to the left of the cell, where numbers are always aligned to the right of the cell, unless you do otherwise above here under alignment. Now, if you use AutoSum now, let's try to use AutoSum to get our computation down here. If you click AutoSum, then the system automatically picks the number, but it will not pick the first number. Why? Because it will realize that the first is a number, yes, but that number is not meant to be used in calculation. So, and by doing that, it will give you the right answer. So when you're talking of labels, then we are referring to data that is not used in calculation. Could be in form of alphabets. Alphanumerics is combination of alphabets and numerics. and it can also be in the form of numbers, but these numbers have to be converted into labels. By doing what? By adding an apostrophe before the number. So that is how you achieve that. So the other type of data that we use in Excel are values. Values, these are numbers that you enter in Excel and expect to use them later in calculation. They normally come in so many formats. They come in form of general numbers, numbers that do not have any special formats. They also comes in form of currency, dates, and times. And we normally say that when you are typing the numbers, if you want to format them into currency, you don't type the symbol. Like you are told to type a number and you use the dollars. You don't press the dollar sign on the keyboard and then you type the number. That is very wrong, because this number now, you have converted it into a label instead of a value, and you cannot use it to calculation. So what you do, first you type in the numbers like we did here. Then you know that sales are supposed to be in form of currency. So you highlight those numbers, and from the number group that is on the home tab, we have so many formats here that you can choose. You can choose your numbers, you can set them to just numbers, or you can choose currency. So when you choose currency, then you realize that the computer will take the default currency. I know, I'm very sure that yours has taken the dollars. So because that is the default currency in your machine. But how do you change the default currency? It is important that before you set up this, you need to set up the default currency in your computer, and you do it through the control panel. That is, from the start menu, you click on start, then you type control panel. Control panel. And when you type control panel, you will realize the control panel appears on your screen in this manner, in form of categories. It will appear in form of categories. And you need to change from categories, you can change to large icons so that you get the specific settings. Remember that control panel is the only way in computer that you can adjust the computer settings. So here, we want to change the settings for region. So you just go and search, look for region. And once you click on region, it's supposed to display the region dialog box. So this region dialog box shows the language. You want your machine to pick Kenya shillings automatically. Then here you have to use English Kenya, not United States. So you just go and choose English Kenya. You get it here now. So you have to look for it. You have to look for it slowly by slowly. So you have so many English formats here. Don't choose others. Just choose English Kenya. And if you are installing your machine for the first time, then always you have to select that. Supposed to be under wire. Yes, yes, I get it here. So you just choose English Kenya, then apply. Okay. Now go and check. You can minimize control panel and go and check whether it has adjusted your currency to Kenya shillings. That is, the minute you choose English Kenya, what will happen in the region? That is, if you are still under the region, you can go back to control panel and you select region. What will happen is that under these additional settings, additional settings is a command down here. You click on currency, you'll find that the currency symbol will adjust from US dollars into Kenya shillings. So that is how you adjust or you change. You change this, and in case it has not changed, you can also type here. You can type manually Kenya shillings, then you apply. So that is how you need to adjust. So by doing that, then you'll have changed your default currency to Kenya shillings. And not only that, down here where we have currency, you need to add that currency symbol here. That is the Kenya shillings. So how do you add that symbol there? So that at a given time, you can use dollars. At other given time, you can use Kenya shillings. So to do that, back to control panel under the region. So you click on region, then additional settings, then currency. You type Kenya shillings, or you just type Kenya shillings there. Then I've already typed it. Let me reset first. So even if I reset it, you still remain Kenya shilling because I have chosen English Kenya. Let me see whether it will be added. Not yet. So I need to go back there and again click on region, additional settings, currency. Then I type Kenya shillings again, but now type it properly. Kenya shillings. Then I'll, this is scrolling up. Then I'll click apply, then okay. Apply, okay. I know some machine you have to restart Excel so that you can get that option. Some you will pick automatically, like this one you have to restart the Excel worksheet so that it will pick that Kenya shillings. Probably yours you have already done that. So, yeah, I know I'll use the other Office program because this one I already set. So it cannot really change much. But once you do that, always you apply, you can choose the currency here and it will pick the currency that you have set by default. So that is the default currency. So from there, the numbers can also be formatted to date and times. So, and sometimes you can apply something we call 1000 separator. The 1000 separator, that comma shows the 1000 separator. So once you select the data and you activate this, if your numbers reach to 1000, you automatically set that 1000 separator. And if you want to format the numbers back to currency, again, also currency, put the 1000 separator again. So that is how you change or you add the values. Values can be so many formats. If you are typing dates, say like you want to show the date of sales somewhere, you can insert maybe somewhere in web. You want to type the dates, date delivered. So, and in this column, you want to type the dates. So when you're typing the dates, you have to confirm first. Your computer reads date in which formats, because computer changes. Every computer has maybe a different setting from the other. So how do you check that? So from control panel, you have seen where you can set up the dates. That is in that menu, in that region menu, it shows that the short dates you have to start with the day, month, then year. Day, month, year. That is when you're typing these dates, you have to start with that. That is according to my machine. According to your machine, you may start with the month, then day, year. So you have to know in which format is your computer reading date. If I want to type, for example, the date today, I'll type if it is 10th. Now 10th represent what? The day. The month, that is October 2022. Now that is according to my machine. So, and these are funny dates because if I want to type the date tomorrow, then I will say that I'm starting with the day. So that is 11 October 2022. If you are not very sure about the dates, then you can test using a date function, which you come to learn about date functions later. You can just put a function here, you say equals to, then you type today equals to today. If you type equals to today, that function comes down here. So you open the brackets and you close the brackets. Equals to today. If you say equals to today, then you press enter key. Then the computer will automatically do what? Is this thing? It will automatically set up the date today according to the format that your computer is reading your date, or according to the date format of your machine. So you can confirm from there and to help you to get. If you type different, for example, if you type this, that I want to type the date tomorrow, and I'll start with the 10. You know, 10 here represents the month. But I've typed 10, then 11. Then I type 20, 22. So what will be the problem with this? You can check here. This one will represent something different. If I was to put these two dates, the dates, let me delete this. If I was to represent these two dates in long format, that is, I select here, I choose long dates. Then these will be two different dates. One date is saying 11th October, the other one is saying 10th November. And I was referring to the same dates. So meaning that if you type the wrong dates, then the computer may end up representing the wrong date in your data. And this one always becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. So let me see, someone is saying something. Lock control panel. How to add Kenya shillings, English, Kenya. We said you have to go to control panel. You have to go to control panel. How do you search control panel? From the start button, here under the search, you type control panel. Just type control panel. And you'll get the control panel dialog box. You say that control panel, when you open it for the first time, it comes in the form of categories. And once it is in the form of categories, then you can, not the region, we are not searching for a region. Look for control panel in your computer, then not search for a region, is search for region. So you select large icons. You can also search from here, but just click region, region. That is the region you are format. Then you select your region. Our region is Kenya, so you have to choose English Kenya. And by doing so, you have already captured that properly. So we have also talked of dates. You need to set the dates, or you need to know how to enter in the dates properly, so that you don't get these two disparate. We have two dates. You want to represent the same thing, but you are getting two different things. That is the dates. You need to do that. So to set up the dates, can you really copy the dates down? When you drag the dates, then automatically the dates always increment. They increment. So dates don't have challenges with dates. They always increment. So if you are given data for a period of 3 years, you don't have to go typing every date. You just need to format your date properly. If you put it in short dates, then you can have your date copied for even 10 years, and it will always count properly. So that is how you are supposed to use to enter in the dates. I hope that one is clear. We are still talking of or referring to the value. We have said that these values are the numbers that you enter in Excel, and you use them to perform calculations. Then remember that you are doing this one for the sake of those people who never attended any Excel class. And we are not going to repeat this. We are just doing it for the first two lessons. Then from there, we'll proceed with the other function. But I hope and believe that even when you have been using, if you have been using Excel, you are still learning something new there. So something else that you need to learn is we enter formulas. And a formula here, formula is a mathematical expression that establishes a relationship between cells. That is, a formula is supposed to establish a relation. If it does not do that, then you don't need that formula. That every time you are entering a formula in the worksheet, the main thing is to make sure that there is a relationship between two cells. So, for example, I'm going to use sheet 4, which is blank. And in that sheet 4, hopefully you are there, I'm going to adjust. And in the first cell, I'm going to type. Remember, we said that you can change the name of a cell. This is cell A1. By default, it will always be A1. And this is cell B1. But I want to change the name of cell A1. So how do you change the name? There are two ways of changing the name. Either you click on that cell, then above here in the name box, you type the new name. For example, I can give this cell the name X. Then press enter. So I don't have cell A1 now, but I have cell X. The other way of changing the name is right-clicking on that cell. Then down here, you can define the name. And defining the name, I can call this cell now Y. I call this cell Y. And I will click OK again. So I have cell A, X, and cell Y. I want to get a specific function. I want to type a specific function here. And in these two cells, I have some numbers. Remember that the values of cells are subject to change. Today, X will be 12. Maybe tomorrow, X will be something else. So here, my X is this, and my Y is this. But now, I want to get the summation of those two. Or I want to increment, or I want to power the X with the next cell. That is, you can say 12 to power 23. 12 to power 23. Or I want to add the two cells. If you put a formula here and say that equals to 12 plus what? 23, then the computer will give you the answer. Why? Because this is a computing program. It will always give you the answer. But now you have not established a relationship between these two cells, these two containers. They are variables. That is, in case these various changes, because we say is subject to change, it won't affect your final results. The final results still remain this. Why? Because you did not establish the relationship between the two cells. Hence, it means that when you are entering the formula here, you don't use the cell values. Instead, you're supposed to use the cell address. So that means a formula. How is the formula? The features of a formula, first, it must begin with an equal sign. It must begin with an equal sign. It contains mathematical operators. Then it uses cell addresses only. Uses cell addresses only. Then sometimes it can use relational operators that are normally used to show the comparisons. So meaning that if I want to get the values of the sum of the two numbers, then I'll say equals to the address of this cell is X plus the address of the next cell is Y. So it you read X plus Y. Okay, well, the formula will start with equals to x plus y. And by doing so, it will now give you the final solutions, which means that in case I change this value, either directly or indirectly. Directly means that I come here and type a new value, and it will change that value. Then automatically, the final answer changes to this. I can also change this value indirectly, which you come to see later, that sometimes using complex functions like if, the if function, you can say that if the value of x, which we have already named the cell, if the value of x, that is something already, we have already defined. If the value of x is probably greater than or less than, could be it is less than or greater than 50, depending on the argument given. Then you say if the value of x is less than 50, and the value of y is, so you have to add, although this one you come to do later, and when you add this and is another function that you're going to learn later. So that is, you have given the two arguments that if the value of x is less than 50, comma, and the value of y is greater than, probably greater than 10. Greater than 10. If the two return a true value, then what will happen? What will happen? Notice that our formula, we cannot go using these numbers now. We have to use the address of that cell, which is x and y. Then something will happen. Maybe you will say anything. You can say ops, as ops. If one of them returns a false value, what do we say? Anything. And say wow. So meaning that you are still referring to those two cells, two values. And by doing this, then the computer will be able to understand that when you are referring to x, you are referring to a value somewhere. Referring to y, referring to a value somewhere. And in the cell where the formula is, it will say something. It will say something. So why? Because it has taken the option 2, not the option 1. Because the two values did not meet the condition that was set. So that's why we say that when you are entering the formula first, you have to use the cell addresses, of which we said the address of the cell can be changed. Why do we change the address of the cell? For easy running of the function. Because when you are entering such a formula that is a bit lengthy, then you need to get a simpler way to make your formula shorter. And by doing this, you have to change the address of the cell. So up to there, we have seen that the third type of data is what we call formulas. These formulas are normally entered using 4 referencing techniques. The first one is the one that comes by default. We have cell referencing techniques that we use to enter in the formulas. Now, I'm not sure whether you are in a position to type this data very fast, but I will prefer that you type a specific piece of data here that I'm going to share. And by entering that data, now you'll be able to run those reference and you understand them better. It's a simple payroll system. This simple payroll system, you can enter this data and format it as it appears there on the screen. So just enter that data. Then I'm giving you only 5 minutes to enter that data, because it is very easy to enter the data. Then from there, we'll run something about the reference and the references. So just take the hold time, then that time, 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm coming back and we are going to run that data together. So just have that data in your machine. I hope you are through now. So let's now proceed. You can see most of you have already entered the data. We are back. And we want to perform these simple functions. I know probably you may not be able to edit that worksheet as it appears, but it is very easy to do that. And we shall have that worksheet. And this is my worksheet here with no computation. Just remove computation. And now I want to see, like these worksheets that we have here, how do you achieve those computations? First, if you check on the worksheet, we are already given the first two employee numbers, and you are supposed to fill to get the rest. And to do this, again, this date was given in short date. So you have short date. You're supposed to adjust to long date. So how do you do this? First, under this merging of the cells is something else that you need to learn. I know it may be a challenge for those people who are doing this one online, because some of these simple things may be a challenge to some. But to merge cells, you always select the range of data. Like here, you're supposed to select from A up to G. And from there, you can now click merge. You merge to merge those cells, where now you type the word Payroll. You can increase the size here. Let's set to size 20. 20 is a big set to size 20. Just click on the cell. So how do you apply the shading? The shading is very easy. To apply the shading, then you just need to click under the Home tab. In the font group, we have the shading, where you can apply the shading. You can choose the shading, the cells, how you want to shade the cells. You can also choose this option, changing the text color, shading color and text color. So you want to apply color here, you can choose. Like, let me choose color white, that my worksheet will be visible. So to apply shading, I've said you just need to select the range of cells, and then you can apply shading from above here, and the dates here. Then how do you apply the borders? You highlight the data. If you don't have the borders, it means that your work will be borderless. Like here, it will be like this. And you want to apply the borders, you highlight the cells, and then from there you can choose. Just before the shading, we have the borders. You can choose borders, then select all borders. All borders. So I hope that is clear. And you have connected, you have set this. So we have said you want to change the date format. You just click on the date. Then you can change the date format here to long date, but you have to merge the cells. The cells where you have typed the date, you highlight those cells, like 3 of them, then you merge. You can change the date format to long date. It shows the exact date, the day that this was generated. Then from here, you want to autofill these numbers. To autofill the numbers, again, the way we did the first time, you select, click on the cell, then you drag down to get the other values. So by doing that, it will generate those other employee numbers. Then from there, you want now to compute these values. You are told to set them in dollars. Just in dollar sign, you just choose dollars. And by doing that, you have already set up your currency to dollars. Then hours worked supposed to be number 4. So after entering this computation, down here you have to perform some calculations. And the first calculation, you are to get the gross the gross salary, so to get the gross pay for employees. And to get the gross pay, you enter the formula in E4 that multiplies hourly rate by hours worked. Hourly rate by hours worked. So how do you perform that calculation? In our cell, that is cell E4, we are supposed to enter the formula there. And the formula we stated that it always starts with an equal sign, an equal to sign. So you type equal to sign first. And then after the equal sign, you're supposed to use the address of the cell with rate. The address of the cell with hourly rate is cell C4. So you click on that cell, C4. So you read C4 after the equal sign. Then you multiply by the cell that has hours worked. So that is this person here, Ford. He was being paid $7.5 working for that 5 hours. That means his gross pay will be $262.50, that is $22.5. So that is you'll get that value there after entering the formula. So how is our formula? You can see our formula here is C4 multiplied by P4. And that is the formula that will give us the results. So once you get this value, then you use the relative cell referencing technique. That is, every time you are referencing in your worksheet, once you put the first formula, you don't have to put any other formula. You just copy the formula down to the worksheet. And copying this formula down the worksheet, it means you click on that cell with the answer. Then from the corner here, you'll drag down to get the other answers. So it makes your work very, very easy, and it will generate the other results. So you'll notice the first formula that was entered is C4 times D4. The next formula will automatically changes to C5 multiplied by D5. The other formula changes again, and it reads C6 multiplied. So it keeps on changing depending on the position of that formula in the worksheet. And that is what we call relative cell referencing, that anytime you copy down the formula in the worksheet, it changes depending on the position of that formula in your worksheet. As you can see there, the formula keep on changing. So as you continue copying the formula, then it changes the immediate cells on the left side. So that is relative cell referencing, relative cell referencing. So, and it is an easy way of entering the formula without having to retype all the time. So you can now compute the other computation. We are given to calculate the SS pay. That is a tax here. This is called the Social Security tax. Is given as 16% of the gross pay. So you enter the formula in cell F4 that multiplies gross pay by 6%. So how do you enter that function? You start with an equal sign, then you say equals to what? Equals to 6%. 6% equals to 6% of is times of what? 6% of the gross pay. 6% of the gross pay. Then from there, you can press the enter key and it will give you the security tags. Finally, we will have the net pay. The net pay is gross pay minus tax. So you start with an equal sign, you say equals to gross pay minus tax. By doing that, you press enter key. It will generate the formulas down here. Copy down the formula. It will generate the other answers. So that is, you have already computed the net pay. So that is a simple payroll system. And the kind of reference you have used is what we call relative reference. It states that the formula changes depending on the position of that formula in the worksheet. It changes depending on the position of the formula in the worksheet. For example, a formula C4 multiplied by D4 in cell E4. If it is copied, if you right click on cell E4, then you copy. You will copy several things. You not only copy the answer that is there, but you also copy the formula that was entered there. So meaning, if I move down in this worksheet, somewhere in this worksheet down here, and I want to paste that formula in another cell, probably cell I3, I want to paste there. When you right click, then you'll find that we have several paste functions. We have the paste value, we have paste formula, we have transpose. So what you want to paste is, you want to paste the formula, not the value. Because if you paste the value, you only paste the value and not the formula. So meaning that I want to paste the function. I'll paste the function. Notice my function may give me a different thing. Reason being that it has now referred to a cell that has a number. So meaning that I cannot actually paste in that cell, because that cell, one of the values will have a number. So let me paste on cell J4. In cell J4, I'll copy again. The formula was in E4, I'll copy. Then in cell J4, I'll paste again, and I'll paste now the formula. So the result of the formula will be 0. Why? Because initially the formula reads here, it reads what? It reads C4 multiplied by D4. But once you copy it in the new cell, it reads H4 multiplied by I4. That means it already changed. And it will always take the immediate cells on the left side to compute. So that is what you call relative reference. So that once you copy or you type in the formula, you don't have to keep on typing these formulas again. Why? Because you just need to copy them to the cell that you want to compute. That's the first concept about referencing. And now as we proceed forward, I'm going to send this couple of exercises in the group. The first concept, here we have several exercises. For the basic level, you're supposed to learn like 7 concepts. And the first concept is that of relative referencing. We have used the first exercise to do so. So every exercise that you find here, it has a concept on its own. So meaning that before we even start our lesson, at least you have already entered these exercises in your worksheet, and you can even attempt them to see whether maybe you'll be able to achieve that. Exercise 3 also have a concept about function, about different types of functions, logical functions, and a number of them. We have the sum if and count if function. Every exercise has a specific concept. So I'm going to share this one with you, that exercises, or those exercises. Then from there, you enter this data in advance before we start our lesson. Always make sure that you have entered this data. Then I'm preparing for the entire booklet that you're going to use. It has all these concepts with exercises. And that booklet, again, once it is completed, I'll also send it there in that subgroup because I want to simplify these tasks into simple and easy to analyze booklets, and then from there you can do one booklet at a time, because the concept is a bit wide and you're supposed to go through it everything here. Remember that as we started our lesson, I showed you what you're supposed to do or to cover through the content about the data entry in your worksheet, which is now what you are doing so far, and working with the worksheets, working with the simple worksheets, performing basic calculations, referencing. So far we have done relative referencing. We also do basic formatting and basic functions. Then finally you end up with charts. So I think up there, you're fine. So our lesson was supposed to end at 8, but we have extended a bit because we started a bit late, and we are going to stop there. So tomorrow we are planning to have another session so that we can cover up with the other students who are doing physical classes. Once we are through with these covering up lessons, we will resume back to our normal class, which will always be evening classes. Sometimes the morning class, you have only the one class, morning class, which will be on Thursdays, Thursday morning. Then evening, you have 2 classes. That is, you have Wednesdays and Thursdays. So you can always attend those classes. So what you're doing is tomorrow class will be still try to cover up to the point where the physical student have reached. That on Wednesday evening, you can still join that class. You'll get a link, get those classes. So I'll stop there and make sure that you have gone through or just download the softwares I told you. Make sure you have AnyDesk. AnyDesk is the most important software you need to have, because AnyDesk will help you, or will help me to help you in case of challenges, in case you have a problem with your machine. Get Office 2010 and higher. I always prefer to use a higher. Actually, in the next class, I will not use 2010 because you have seen there are some tools that are missing. I'll use 2016. So at least make sure you have 2016. It will be better for you. Then just to remind you that when you are getting or you are logging into these classes, just log in with your mobile phone, and then you use your computers to practice those tests. So end there. See you tomorrow.